I'd like to call to order the regular council meeting, Tuesday, November 14th, 2017. Can I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Cerisi?
I'm here.
Mr. Roden?
Here.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Here.
Mr. Scafidi?
Here.
Mr. Steele?
Here.
Ms. McPherson?
Here.
Mr. Fury?
Here.
Please rise. Ms. McPherson will lead us in the pledge and the prayer.
Father, we seek your guidance for the business that is before us. In planning for the future of the city of Twinsburg, give us vision. Guide us to make decisions that are not self-serving, but for the betterment of our community, so we can continue to move forward in a positive direction. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Approval of the minutes from October 24th. Are there any corrections or changes, anyone? Then let it show the minutes will be approved as written. Awards and presentations, anything?
There's none.
None? Audience participation.
Yes. First, we have Sheila Williams.
Hello, everyone. I want to say a couple of things, but I want to tell you, Gary, I'm happy for you that you get a chance to enjoy retirement, do what you want to do, when you want to do it, and how you want to do it.
Well, thank you.
I think somebody told me you're going to Florida.
That's true.
And if you get bored, there's always homeowners associations, there's always small-town politics, and you've been around that block before. And I thought today that, you know, we've had our disagreements over the years, but one thing I will say, I think we've had mutual respect, and we can say that we both love Twinsburg. We may not see eye to eye on things, but we both do love Twinsburg.
That's true.
And I said I wanted to make sure I told you to have a wonderful next step in your life, because you've
Thank
had all four of my children. And, you know, so all of us can kind of laugh as we look back over the years together. And to set, you know, I don't want to see you around loitering because you're going to have all this free time. But congratulations to you.
Thank you.
And to Maureen and the new council members, I want to welcome you. And I will say, and I promise Gary this, as much hell as I've raised with him over the years, I promise to monitor their activities also. So you
what I
can
would
rest
expect.
assured on that, okay? And I also want to say to the city of Twinsburg that this last weekend, I've lived here over 35 years maybe, and I can think of maybe 3 times that we've had some severe storms and trees down. I think the last one was Glenwood with you, Sam, where it was all bad over there.
Tornado.
It was unbelievable to me. And I want to thank you personally, because you're my hero. And to thank the fire department and the police department, because I live in a community where the average age is 70 plus, and they're more like 90 plus. And I called, and each person that I asked them to do a wellness check on, they did do it. They weren't all accommodating, but the police department did come out, and I really appreciate that. And to the city all gathering together, and as I drove around, it was just devastating to me, the trees. We cut down a lot of trees where I live at because they're old and they're doing like this. And we get a lot of complaints about it. I don't think I'll get as many complaints next summer because a lot of them are really leaning now. They didn't come out. I think we only had one that came down. But I say all that to say that we live in a wonderful community. This is one community even with differences. And when it's time to come together, we do come together. I'm not always a happy camper, and I'm not going to say that I am, as many of the people that listen and watch us are not happy campers. And when I worked election day, it was cold. And I think I drank 2 pots of coffee. But I did it here, and I did it in Reminderville, because how goes one community goes all the communities. And we all came together during this storm. And I just looked around, and in this last week, just driving around, it has just been devastating. But I see all these trees cut down. I see them on the curb, you know. And you would never really know what happened here last week if you weren't here to see it. And I just want to say thank you to the police department, the fire department, and to you. Because I forgot how dark it gets in the country. And when I turned the corner to come into the street, it was like, I can't see the street to turn because it was so dark. But it all worked out well, and I want to just say thank you. Then I want to talk about the State of the Union Health Department is having their annual third year of the State of the Health Department meeting on December 7th. I'm sure your office has been notified, and if anyone at council would like to go to it, I'm going to forward my email to Shannon, and you just have to register. It's from 8:30 to 10:30. And she will be doing a broad brush of everything that I come and talk to you all about too, and you'll get a chance to see most of the communities represented. So it should be nice. It's at the Hilton, at the Quaker Station on Broadway, and that's Thursday, December 7th, and I just wanted to make you all aware of it, and I'll pass it on to Shannon, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good
Thank
luck.
you.
Next, we have Michael Turrell.
Good evening, Council and Mayor.
Good evening.
Michael Turrell, 99330 Forest Lake Drive. Yeah, Sheila touched very well, Ms. Williams, touched very well on how our community came together for the storm. It was really great to see everybody out helping each other. I saw Mayor Yates going out, checking in on residents and checking in on storm damage, and it's amazing how people really came out to help each other. I saw a bunch of people on Facebook offering their services to help clean yards of trees, free of service, just to try to get our city back to some kind of normalcy. So it was really great to see how our community came together to help each other. I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Ceresi and Mr. Roden for your fine, long, many years of service to our community.
Thank you.
We appreciate everything you've done for us. You guys will be missed. Congratulations to our newcomers. What I really came up here to speak on tonight is items 110 and 111 on the resolutions for the asbestos abatement and for the demolition. I'm concerned why we are spending money on this building at this point in time when we don't really have this exact plan yet. We don't know what the final thing is, but we all are quite aware of the deed restriction on this property. That I got it right here on my phone so I can read it. Subject to the school remaining a public building as long as it is owned by the grantee. So as long as it is owned, it is supposed to be a public facility and it's supposed to be maintained. So if the city is not going to use this building, it is legally supposed to go back to the property of the school district, which encompasses 4 communities. As a city taxpayer, I will get a benefit in the city if the city sells it and knocks it down or does whatever makes the money. But as a school district resident, my schools need some money too. And this is legally, the way I see it, this is the property of the school district. And this property should go back to the school district for them to deal with. So before we spend any money and before we consider this resolution tonight, we need to find out for sure where the school stands on this, because the way I see it, the school district is legally obligated and compelled to take this building back and let them sell it or use it or do what they want. This money actually belongs to the school district, seeing as how the city bought this building for $10 with this deed restriction clearly in place. So this is something I'm going to be bringing to the school board tomorrow night as well. But our group is also poised and ready to put an injunction out there on the city to halt this progress, this process right now. And also the same with the school board, because the school board is obligated to take this back because these funds rightfully belong to the school board, and they really need the money too right now, because I got 3 kids in Twinsburg schools, so I have interest there as well, which is also part of my reason. If they knock it down or they do whatever, this is a school district issue. This is really not a city issue. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Freeman?
I'd just like to respond to Mr. Turrell. When the school district no longer wished to operate that facility, they gave it to the city because we were in a much better financial position to manage it. at the same time, where we took that building for a very nominal fee, we also donated $12 million out of city general fund money for the building of the new high school. So when you're reminding people about the $10 lease tomorrow night, don't forget the part where the city put a third of the money up for the new high school. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, that's it. Thank you. Council Communications, Mr. Scafidi.
Thank you and good evening. The Board of Zoning Appeals will meet next Wednesday, the 22nd of November at 6:30 right here in this building. That's all I have under my committee reports. Under information, I would just like to congratulate Maureen Stauffer on her reelection. I would like to congratulate Scott Barr and Greg Bellin on their elections, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you folks, next year, and as we move the city of Twinsburg forward. I think it's going to be a good council and a good year. Mr. Sorese, today's your birthday, I guess, and I'd like to wish you happy birthday.
Thank you.
And we've got one more meeting before you and Seth say your final
That's
adieu.
true.
So I'll wait till the next meeting to wish you guys well. But
Badger me.
you know I do wish you both well. And that's the end of my report. Thank you.
Mrs. Stauffer.
Okay. The Architectural Review Board met on November 2nd. There were 5 items on the agenda. The Glen Eagle Clubhouse, there was a change in the exterior colors, and that was approved. There was a 9224 Darrow Road, a sign variance for an illuminated wall sign by Allstate. That was approved. There was also some additional signage for that same sign that was approved, information, a wall sign, a directory sign, and a door sign. On Vale Drive, there was a sign approved for Polished Salon by Fast Signs that will replace the Lost Dale sign. And then there was also a single-family dwelling by Pulte Homes, 10075 Corbett's Lane, that was approved, leaving it to one home left in Corbett's Farm when they sold them home. That's all I have for that. We also had a safety committee meeting tonight. I would do you want me to report on that?
It's up to you.
Anyone wants to report on that? Okay,
I
we
can
took-
jump in if needed.
What's that? I think I'll leave it up to you.
Okay. so-
Okay, so we had a safety meeting tonight, and that's all I have for my committee reports.
Thank you. Mr. Fury.
I'd like to congratulate everybody who won their elections, mega dittos, as Mr. Scafidi has already said. On October 26th, there was a Park and Rec Committee meeting, and at that meeting, Deb Peltz, a member from Ward 1, outlined a new program that she's bringing to the city of Twinsburg from a program that she observed from the city of Hudson. It's going to be called Friends of the Twinsburg Parks. It'll be a dues-paying fundraising vehicle to assist the Park and Rec's department away from city funds to develop trails and paths and subsidize events within the city. They will be applying for a 501c3 application, and they've already set up bylaws and are putting the rules together. Derek Schroeder was able to get a resident, an anonymous resident, to donate startup money for this group at about $1,700, and we're working out how the city takes that money and puts it into the 501c3 group in the future with Karen House. But yeah, this is a really exciting thing to happen. Hudson has several hundred members that pay annual dues and participate in fundraising activities. And this is really something that Deborah Peltz has taken and run with pretty much on her own. So hats off to her, and she's doing a great job. Other things that were discussed were the upcoming events, where and that there are some volunteers needed. On November 22nd, Louis Light Exchange is Wednesday, November 22nd, from 11:30 to 3:30. The rec department needs people to dress up in elf costumes and support this program. If you're interested, please contact the city. They'll get you to Derek Schroeder's office. Luminosity is Saturday, November 25th, between 5 and 8 p.m. The lighting event that we started at City Hall and goes down to the square. Again, Derek's in need of elves and others to volunteer for easy tasks. And lastly, Winter Wonderland is Sunday, December 3rd, from 12 to 5 p.m. That's inside the fitness center, and they're looking for volunteers for that event as well. Also, they unanimously passed a motion after a discussion regarding Wi-Fi connectability in the fitness center. That there's an issue with dead spaces, and that people who are streaming music as they work out are having issues. And they would like something to be done quickly to rectify this.
I just approved a PO, so
Okay, as I say,
It's in the works.
Mark Kotowski mentioned that you were doubling the bandwidth for the city, and as well as saving money on a new contract with I'm not sure who the company that we're working with. But
Windstream.
but it was going to be at a reduced cost for double the bandwidth. So that issue should be fixed within the next 30 days or so. Their next meeting will be held on November 30th at 6:30 p.m. in council chambers. I attended the American Planning Association's Planning and Zoning Workshop on October 27th. I went to a class on sign regulations, very interesting class on economic development tools that could be utilized from the city, several that we're already using, and a discussion on how to better use tools for mixed development, as well as Mr. Steele and Mary Yates were there as well. I saw a really cool fundraiser today. There was, after this storm, Twinsburg Strong became through Facebook, and the Twinsburg Tiger U8 travel baseball team is doing a fundraiser selling Twinsburg Strong gear. That you can go to a website at Rube Adler Sports. You can get hoodies, you can get t-shirts. There's several options, different colors. You pretty much order it custom. All the money that they make, all the profit that they make, 100% of it will go to our community hunger center as a donation to support our local food bank. So I thought that was a really cool way to do it. There's a website that's on the Twinsburg Youth 8, or the Twinsburg Tigers 8U travel baseball team. I sent you an email to see if we can put that on our bulletin board or off our website as well. So hopefully we can work that out. But I thought that was really cool. And lastly, on December 2nd, it's a Saturday, at St. Reese's Masnick Hall, there's a multi-faith Christmas party for handicapped and special needs kids. So if you have any special needs kids or young adults, you can contact the parish at 440-248-1350. Again, this is multi-faith, multi-city event. If you would like to volunteer, again, it's 440-248-1350. And registration's already started, so if you call or if you go to the St. Rita's website, you can get involved. But I thought that was this is the second year that they're sponsoring this, and it just sounds like a nice event. And that's all I have this evening. Thank you. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Feels good to retire when you're almost 50.
Sam did.
What's that?
Retired when you were 50.
Actually, I don't have much to discuss tonight. Congratulations to everyone who ran. I think, and those who ran and did not win, congratulations, I think you did a nice job. Just want to remind everybody, December 13th is Light the Night, which is our third, I believe, or the fourth, Hanukkah celebration. And we're going to bring a little more into it. I think the rabbi who's trying to start the Chabad is going to come in as well and kind of tell the story of Hanukkah and give a little more validity to not just latkes and donuts. So it'll be nice. And I will save comments for anything else until next meeting. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Stewart.
None of my committees met. Happy birthday, sir.
Thanks.
You're still older than me.
Thank you. Ms. McFerrin.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you.
And just like everyone else, I'm sure you're glad Election Day is over. And congratulations to our new colleagues. And, but I also want to remind everybody there's lots of other ways to participate in the city, various commissions and boards, so we look forward to everyone helping. The chamber asked me to announce their latest update. It's going to be announced later in the week, but that I could announce there's a new executive director, Megan Everhart, who is going to be starting soon as the new executive director of the chamber. And I was able to attend on the VFW dedication of the new veteran park on Saturday, and if you've missed it, it's a really nice park that they were able to do, and stop by and see it.
You all set? All done? Thank you. Mayor Yates.
Thank you. Talk about a bunch of stuff that's happened in the last couple of weeks. I promised I would mention, so tomorrow is National Recycles Day. I'm sure Miss Daisy knows this, right? I was asked to do a proclamation, so we did send one out, but so that is tomorrow, and some of the numbers they gave me, we process, I guess, in the United States about 258 million tons of waste each year, and we're up to around 90 million tons of recycled material. So I think we're making progress. I know we push it in our city here, but I promised I would mention that in my report tonight. The safety meeting did occur. Again, we've mentioned at the last few meetings, we engaged a expert. A couple of things we're looking at throughout the city. The main focus, I think, that everyone's interested in is looking at the roundabout now that we've had a year. We have an expert from Wisconsin that has an engineering firm that specializes in that. So we're waiting on a final report. There are some potential, I guess you would say, significant changes. We're looking at, of course, the signage. We're potentially looking at making it a one lane with some dedicated turn lanes. So once we get that final report, we'll release that to the residents and plan out, based on weather and what we need to do, how those changes would occur. A couple of things that I've attended. I did attend the Planning and Zoning Conference. It's a great conference that's put on each year, and attended a couple of the same breakout sessions that Mr. Fury did, but again, we always pick up good information from that conference. We hosted city architects and AMATs here and did Connecting Communities. It was one of our meetings. We did receive a grant to try to somehow connect our trail systems around here to each other and to our downtown area. So we were able to walk with them, show them our current trail system so that they can, I guess, analyze that, and, the feasibility study that they're doing. But it was actually fun walking with them because they were so impressed with, the main one I walked with them was Center Valley. And they couldn't believe we actually mow the sides. We mow parts of the trail going down to Tinker's Creek. I mean, they were just, really impressed with the work that we do on our current trail system. And that's something that I think we as a community can be really proud of. Let's see. We had election in the midst of everything happening last week. I just want to congratulate those that had successful campaigns. I also want to thank Mr. Turrell, Mr. Thews, Mrs. Turrell Waldron. We had a very busy campaign season, but again, it's a very challenging. It's very challenging to run for office, and I know how much effort it takes, both emotionally, physically. So I know it was a long haul for a lot of you guys. But congratulations to those who will be joining us. I attended a couple of veteran events throughout the weekend. I was also at the post 4929, the dedication of Memorial Park. If you haven't seen it or really walked through it, I know people have driven by it, but they really put together a beautiful park for veterans right there next to the VFW. They received some significant donations of material, time, and labor with a granite monument with brass boots. There was a foundry down in Virginia that donated those. The actual owner came up for this event. It was kind of cool to see him travel all the way for this dedication of this little VFW park that we have. But it was a great event, great turnout. There was a convoy of historic, I guess it would be military vehicles that came through. You know, Joe always does a great job, and the group of guys he has working at the VFW. We had a veterans recognition and kind of a pinning event at the senior center. I think it was one of the first times they've done that, but it was a really good turnout. I want to thank the senior center and those that helped organize that. It was a really, it was an important recognition for some of our veterans and seniors that live here in town. I know they did it the day before in another city, and they were so thankful that the actual mayor showed up to it. I guess they did in the other city, but they didn't have quite the turnout that we did in Twinsburg, and I think that goes to show how much we try to support our veterans here in Twinsburg, both with our VFW and some of the events we hold here. A couple other things that have gone on. I just want to congratulate April Blubaugh. She was an officer that retired here. She actually doesn't officially retire till the end of the year, but she spent her last day here. So she had some vacation time she needed to take, and I was able to attend her retirement dinner with some officers on Saturday night. I just want to congratulate her. And then lastly, I just want to talk about the storm we had last week. You know, this happened on Sunday night, and I just want to say how proud I am of our community, both our employees here, our residents. As challenging as that was, you know, we kind of debriefed on it today, but all our departments really came together, whether it was police, fire, service, Parks and Rec with the fitness center and the community center, clerk's office. I mean, it just, everyone that somehow touched everyone in the city. And it was neat to see how it kind of brought both our employee base together and our residents together in a time of need. It's, you know, to have basically on a Sunday night at 7 o'clock, we had 14 service guys come in. We had, I don't know how many officers, firemen mobilized out safeguarding streets. We had lights out. We had, I don't know, 30 to 60,000 volts laying across Liberty Road. It was a very challenging situation, but you know, when we stood back and look at it, we did a lot of things right. Are there things that we could tweak and make better if, you know, God forbid it doesn't happen again? Yeah, but I think this city really came together, and it really demonstrated how well trained our city services are, and the dedication to wanting to help our residents and get our town cleaned up. We're still cleaning up. We have, you know, for those that don't know, we have basically, what, 2 full crews, Chris, that can do branch chipping. We run those in our normal operations. When this happened, I reached out to other communities, and I was able to get branch chipping equipment from Kent and from Stowe, and I believe Stowe delivered theirs, which was great. So we were able to run 4 crews, and then Streetsboro actually sent us a crew and equipment. So they sent us some of their service guys along with equipment. So we were running 5 crews for 4 days, and then I know on Friday, on the day off of, you know, it was Veterans Day, we had 12 guys come in and branch chip all day on Friday. I spent some time with them that day, and I just want to share. I've learned a lot about branch chipping. It was kind of nice. They had a customized helmet for me and everything, but, you know, we have some very strong service guys. So when you have a tree that falls, if you can drag that whole tree to your tree line, just go ahead and do that. Don't worry about cutting it up into little pieces. And I was going to bring in a prop of a little, like a little stick. I think some people bought new chainsaws and were real excited they bought new chainsaws. But the biggest piece of limb or tree you can drag to your tree line, go ahead and do that. And, you know, point the end of it down the street, because, you know, there was some piles we pulled up to, and it was so easy just to drag and run it through that machine. And then there was other piles that were from here to that brick wall that were cut up into pieces this big, and it takes forever for those guys to try to do it. So, but I have a true appreciation for what those guys do on a daily basis. You know, I was really tired on Friday night. So I can imagine them doing that day after day after day. So next time you see them, thank them if they're out there in front of your yard slinging branches around. But, you know, we're going to work through the city. I know our service department is out there again today. I think we've called both. We still have Kent and Stowe's equipment, so we're going to keep sending those guys out. And I spent 8 hours with the crew I was with on one side street. We run Bissell for 8 hours. And they don't work slow, so it wasn't, we had, I think, 4 truckloads from Bissell. So we'll get our way through each of these communities, and we'll make sure this all gets cleaned up. And I really want to thank not only our service crews, but just the residents here and the neighbors that have helped each other. You know, you see people stepping up. They're seniors that can't really do a lot of things. Our service guys, I mean, if a tree's snapped in a front yard, we just went ahead and cut it and got it out of there. But, you know, I want to thank those who have really helped those in needs. And, you know, and it's still happening. There's still a ton of trees that haven't even been touched yet. So if you've got the time and the effort and the equipment, help your neighbor if you can. And, you know, we'll try to get the city back in order as quick as possible. That's all I have to say on that. I'll probably say it later too, but I just want to wish everyone a really happy Thanksgiving next week. So we won't have another council meeting before then. Spend some time with family, spend some time serving others, and enjoy your day. That's all I have.
Department head?
Yeah. Chris, you want to come up? I'll let him share the numbers. I know what the numbers are, but I'll let him show the numbers.
Good evening, Council.
Good evening.
So to follow up on what the mayor was saying, the branch chipping, we are continuing with 3 crews because we still have Stowe's equipment. So we're going to have 3 crews out there. We have serviced 725 homes, which again doesn't tell the whole tale because you know, each of those homes has so much debris. We've chipped over 842 cubic yards of debris. So it's big. It's still coming out. You know, once we go through a street, more branches come out. So that's our main focus right now. However, we have branches to do too. So we are out. We started on the 16th of October with the branch chipping. And on that first round, it was very unusual for us. It was actually a blessing. We hit over 1,000 stops. Normally, the first round, we might have
Are you talking about leaves or branches?
I'm sorry, leaves.
There we go. All right.
And usually, we hit 100 homes or so. This time, because of the early, I mean, a lot of them fell early. So we hit 1,000 homes. So that kind of got us ahead. Then the storm hit. We've been through the city a couple times. We are going to go back out. Well, they went back out with 1 crew today, and towards the end of the week, we're going to try to get our 2nd crew out there. So between leaves and branches, we're going to be pretty busy, but we're going to keep on those branches as long as we can. Coming up also is obviously winter operations. We are scheduled to go on shift coverage on Monday, December 4th. So, you know, who knows what that's going to bring. You know, we'll be on shifts. I'm sure by that time we will have some snow events. So working between the snow events and all this other stuff, we will, you know, keep on those branches. I'm sure it'll go into spring, and who knows how long till we can get the city all cleaned up, but we will stay on that.
Couple other things that we were able to accomplish before all this happened. Crack sealing went real well this year. We were a little bit behind from last year because of weather. We had some material left. We were able to use that up, and we were able to use 50% of this year's material that we had purchased. So the crack sealing went very well. We had a project up on the Glenwood Drive Bridge. We went through the walkway there, and it was reported that we had some loose boards on there on that walkway. So we went through and installed, I think it was like 1,400 screws, just to make sure all those boards were nailed down in place. So we were able to get that accomplished. We went through the storm areas to make sure we had no clogs. We will be back through those as well. But like I say, at this point, we're looking at the branches and more branches, leaves, and then we will go from there. And that's my report. Thank you.
Thanks. You guys reporting or no? You come on up.
Good evening. I apologize for missing safety committee tonight. I was out with our officers working a traffic crash, pretty serious traffic crash tonight. During the month of October, the City of Twinsburg Communications Center generated 2,473 calls for service among Twinsburg Police and Fire Departments and the Reminderville Police and Fire Departments. The total for the year is 24,691. Police officers arrested or cited 152 suspects into court on 243 different counts. Officers issued 242 written warnings and 6 parking citations. Officers investigated 47 traffic crashes, of which 11 were injury crashes, 11 were on private property, and none were fatal in the month of October. And that's my report.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Yeah. I just want to mention, during that storm, we were able to mobilize like 7 dispatchers, and because of Macedonia got hit so bad with power, their dispatch center went down, so their rollovers actually came to us. So we were handling our city, the township, Reminderville, and a lot of Macedonia calls too. So I mean, they did a great job in there. We had 4 seats going, and it was crazy, but they did a good job. All right. Come on up, Chief.
Good evening.
Good evening.
For the month of October, the fire department responded to 255 calls for service. For the year, that brings us to 2,334 as of the end of October. Our total for last year was 2,559 calls. We're going to surpass that sometime at the end of this week. So it just kind of shows you the increase in call volume that we're dealing with. Just a couple events I want to mention to you. On the 24th, we responded to the fitness center for an individual was called in as a head injury. Ultimately, it was an individual that was having cardiac arrest, and with the cooperation of the fitness center staff, we were able to resuscitate that individual and get him to the hospital where he was treated and is well on his way to recovery. So just a good cooperative effort, and still closely on the heels of having all of our employees trained in CPR and getting some new defibrillators deployed in different buildings within the city. It just goes to show you never know where and when, and it's just good to be prepared. Fire prevention did 92 fire inspections over the course of the month. We also worked on 3 fire investigations. Public education, we had 20 different events that contacted about 1,700 people. Of course, one of those included the open house. And then we had 139 training events through the course of the month, totaling 463 hours of training. Points of interest, on November 4th, our weather warning sirens were tested and they all worked properly. And then upcoming events, Breakfast with Santa is going to be held at the Fire Department on December 9th. Registration for that can be handled through the Parks and Recreation Department. And then the Santa Run is going to be held on December 10th, which is the next day. And information for that can be found at the Fire Department's Facebook page or on our Fire Department page at mytwinsburg.com. And in relation to the storm event this past week, I have been in touch with EMA just to see what's available there. There's really not any assistance available based on the amount of damage the city of Twinsburg received. Ultimately, there's a couple different metrics that come into account there. One is the amount of damage that city services infrastructure takes hit compared to the city budget. And then the other part is flooding. Flooding is really the ticket that really gets FEMA rolling, and of course we didn't have any flooding. We have about 70 structures that were impacted, received damage of some sort. Most of them are minor, a little bit of siding and some shingles, but there were about a half a dozen that received a significant structural damage as a result of trees falling on them. Two ultimately didn't have any impact from trees. It was just the wind that broke out sidewalls of the garages. So, and the only other element that hasn't been mentioned so far, and I just want to take this opportunity to mention, is the CERT team. Once again, was a big assistance through the course of the event Sunday night and into Monday morning. So, just want to shout out to them for their assistance, and they continue to show up and help us out when we need them. So, I want to thank them, and that's my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. Jim?
I wanted to mention, I forgot to tell you that our wastewater treatment plant, through this event, ran beautifully. We've got 3 generators at the treatment plant, and all of our sanitary lift stations have generators. All of those generators came on, carried power, and that night we have normally 2 operators at the plant. Those 2 operators handled the situation. Obviously, all the generators ran beautifully. So it's one of the, we haven't even talked about wastewater, and there are times where we've had to, but yeah, they did a great job, and I just didn't want to forget to let you know how well that ran that night. So they did a super job.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, Chris.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. The golf staff has been working on our fall maintenance programs the last few weeks. Some of these items include keeping the course clear of leaves, cleaning out the beds, cutting down perennials and grass plants, removing dead ash trees, and mowing. And finally, the mowing has slowed down a little bit. Also, fall aeration was completed on the greens, tees, and fairways, and we also winterized the irrigation system and pump station. Total water usage pumped on the golf course this year was 13 million gallons compared to 14 million last year, so a little less this year than last year. Currently, our crew has been very busy cleaning up the golf course from the storm that came through last week. We had several large trees come down or snap off, and a lot of debris that needed picked up. Fortunately, there wasn't any damage to any of the greens, tees, or fairways. With the amount of trees and brush that came down, it will probably take our crew a good portion of the winter to get everything cleaned up and possibly into the spring. However, the privacy fence at the maintenance building did get damaged. I am working on getting that repaired. I'm not sure of a time frame when this can get fixed, but I am hoping yet this year. The golf grounds crew did an excellent job last week getting priority areas cleaned up on the golf course, assisting residents that live around the course that had issues, and working in adverse conditions with no power in our building for a few days. I thank them for their efforts, outstanding performance and efforts. Lastly, the golf course is still open at this time. Once we start getting consistent bad weather and lack of demand to play golf, Brian and I will close the golf course for the season. If we get a good stretch of weather like we did last winter, will consider reopening after I evaluate the course in order to prevent any possible damage to the golf course. And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. All right, I think now we're to Ms. Karen.
Good evening, everyone. Happy birthday, Gary. And congrats to Maureen and the new council-elects, Scott and Greg. Want to give you an update on our first advance we received in November. So far, we're up by 92%. We received $1,269,000 compared to last year. This time, we received $660,000, which means we're up for the year so far by 8%. In regards to what's presented to you today, reflective of the 2018 appropriations, believe it or not, the total budget this year is at $45,585,911, of which $29,173,106 is of the general fund. Just wanted to mention a few things that encompasses that $45 million, and that is capital projects for $1,081,455. $55,000 for the fitness center. The road program is about $2.5 million. Infrastructure, $4.2. Hopefully we'll receive some grants to offset some of that cost. And then in relationship to the general debt obligation, $864,946. And of course the police and fire pension, about $1 million. So that's what encompasses the 2018 general, the appropriations. So if you have any questions in relation to that, let's say one more time, sorry. Any more questions in relation to that, please feel free to give me a call. Thanks, that's all I have to report.
That's all we have?
That's it. Thank you. Okay, legislation. Ordinance 101.
The annual appropriation ordinance for 2018, approved by council from estimates submitted by the mayor, providing for the ordinary expenses and other necessary expenses of the city of Twinsburg, Ohio during the fiscal year ending December 31st, 2018.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 101, 2017. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury seconds. Discussion.
This is the annual appropriations for the city of Twinsburg. As Ms. House just said, it encompasses all the capital projects that have gone through the capital improvement program, as well as all the operating expenses. The mayor and the administration are coming up with roughly about an 18% decrease over 2017. So I think that everybody's done a great job on this and look forward to getting this passed this evening.
Yeah, I just want to thank council, thank department heads. I mean, this is one of our probably earlier times we've actually approved, you know, the final budget for the following year. So, but yeah, it was an aggressive budget, so thanks everyone for working with us.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ordinance 101, 2017 passes 7-0. Resolution 108.
A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a professional service agreement with Perry & Associates to prepare the city's 2017 GAP.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt Resolution 108, 2017. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi, second. Discussion.
We're required to get a gap conversion done every year. Perry & Associates would be new to the city on this term, but they've done extensive work with us in the past.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Resolution 108, 2017 passes 7-0. Ordinance 109, 2017.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 108, 2016, the appropriation ordinance for the city of Twinsburg for the year 2017, and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to put Ordinance 109, 2017 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Mr. Fury seconds. Discussion.
The reason for the emergency is that they need to get the monies transferred as soon as possible, as the play has already taken place.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
The emergency motion passes 7-0. Now I'd like to adopt ordinance 109, 2017 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Stoffer seconds. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ordinance 109, 2017 passes 7-0 as an emergency. Ordinance 110.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Lepi Enterprises Incorporated for the asbestos mitigation project for property located at 8997 Darrow Road and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to put ordinance 110, 2017 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Scafidi, second. Discussion.
The reason for the emergency is that we want to get the asbestos removed as quickly as possible. This has gone through the bid process, and the bids have come in lower than we expected at $110,162.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Emergency motion passes 7-0. Now I'd like to adopt ordinance 110, 2017 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. McFerrin, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ordinance 110, 2017 passes 7-0 as an emergency. Ordinance 111.
An ordinance accepting the bid of Ray Bertolini Trucking Company Incorporated for the demolition and site restoration project for the property located at 8997 Darrow Road.
And that was the first reading on ordinance 111. Resolution 112, we're going to pass over that this evening, is that correct? Okay. And ordinance 113.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the various special revenue accounts as established in Ordinance 108, 2016, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2017.
That was the first reading on that. Ordinance 114.
An ordinance approving a change order to the design service contract with Prospectus Architecture for the golf clubhouse and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to put ordinance 114, 2017 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Fury, second. Discussion.
This was some redesign of both the restaurant kitchen and the banquet kitchen to accommodate some change out of some equipment to make the banquet kitchen a full functioning kitchen, as well as add some landscape and design and some concrete work at, I guess, the base of the staircases coming down toward the golf course to be able to accommodate a larger area to host events.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
The emergency motion passes 7-0. Now I'd like to adopt ordinance 114, 2017 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Steele, seconds. Discussion.
The total change order is $23,200.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Ordinance 114, 2017 passes 7-0 as an emergency. Ordinance 115.
An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Twinsburg Township to provide fire protection and emergency medical services.
That was the first reading on that ordinance. Ordinance 116.
An ordinance amending the current year appropriations for the general revenue account as established in Ordinance 108, 2016, the appropriation ordinance for the City of Twinsburg for the year 2017, and authorizing payment of the same to the Friends of the Community Theater and declaring an emergency.
I'd like to put ordinance 116, 2017 on its third and final reading and declare it an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Roden seconds. Discussion.
The reason for the emergency is that there are monies that the city's held for the theater that need to be transferred into their account now that they've established a 501c3 status.
Anything else? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
The emergency motion passes 7-0. Now I'd like to adopt ordinance 116, 2017 as an emergency. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Roden, second. Discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Sorese?
Yes.
Mr. Roden?
Yes.
Ms. McFerrin?
Yes.
Mr. Scafidi?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoffer?
Yes.
Mr. Fury?
Yes.
Mr. Steele?
Yes.
Ordinance 116, 2017 passes 7-0 as an emergency. Unfinished business. Mr. Scafidi?
Yeah, I just want to mention one thing. I meant to mention it in my report and I forgot, and I think it deserves to be repeated. Just a shout out, thank you to all the city employees that pulled together last week during our storm event. Everybody did a great job. Residents that I've had the opportunity to speak with have all been satisfied with the services they received, from our police and fire to our service department, and I'm sure they're very thankful for our wastewater department that continued to run. So all of the services were great, and I'm very appreciative of that and very proud of our city. And I know Chris in our Public Works Department, they had a big job, and they still have a big job ahead of them. If you drive around town, there's still quite a bit out there. I think those guys are going to be working for quite some time through the snow season to get all that cleaned up off the curb. But thank you again for a great job well done. Thanks. And our mayor as well. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Well, he just took everything I was going to say. He was reading my notes. Thank you very much to our service department and our police and fire. Really was a tremendous job. I also wanted to mention the turkey trot last week. Derek Schroeder put on, and I think he did a fabulous job with that. There were a lot of runners out there. That's always, just everything that's been going on has been so wonderful. Congratulations to our new council members as well. I'd like to thank the voters for their support, and to all the people who ran as well. It is a big job. So I want to thank everyone, and happy birthday, Mr. Sorese. And that's all I have. Oh, happy Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
My favorite holiday.
that was from my notes.
Yeah, my favorite holiday. Happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Mr. Fury?
This is where I'm supposed to lead the council in singing you happy birthday. But I'll pass on that.
Good. That's great.
That's all I
I
have.
hear that.
I missed the storm because I was out of town, but I heard it was something else. Although a tree did fall and smashed my windshield and actually put a limb right through my tire of my truck.
For his birthday, he'd like to see you be one of the elves that you tried to get people to do, so.
What's that?
I said for your birthday, you'd like to see Mr. Fury be one of the elves that he's trying to recruit people for.
But I am glad that
I only fit in a Santa Claus suit. The old stuff just doesn't work. We tried. Can't do it. Easter bunny fits, Santa suit, no elves. I need to take a leadership position wherever I go.
All right, let's get back here. I did want to say that I was glad that I put that generator on my house when I built it, so
Wow.
that came into play.
Yeah.
Didn't lose anything other than that truck.
Oh.
Mr. Roden?
I'd like to say what they all said down there, but you guys do a great job. I was out of town and missed all this. I was flying through turbulence and thought I was going to die. so I hit the storm before it came to you, and came home and my wife was a little crazy, so stir crazy. So not happy I wasn't in town. But again, congratulations to everyone who won, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Steele?
The storm that went through, when we had the tornado, was kind of localized in one direction and path through our city, but this one went through and nailed everybody. And that we're recovering as quick as we can is a tribute to the service department, the PD, the fire department, and everybody that works in the city and a lot of the residents, because I've seen a lot of residents out cutting up trees, not waiting for tree services. That was part of being in this city. It's a great thing. I would have come out and helped direct traffic if you would have said it. I still remember how to wave my arms. But yeah, we did. We came through this. I think it's an outstanding thing, and it really makes me proud of being a resident of the city of Twinsburg. Once again, happy birthday.
Yeah, thank you. Ms. McPherson.
Well, by the time you get to me, there's really nothing left to say. But I am proud of our city, of our residents, and I think we all have a lot to be thankful for this Thanksgiving. So, happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Mayor.
All right. Yeah, just one thing I guess I forgot to mention, we have Luminosity coming up. I think Mr. Fury mentioned it, but, you know, it's a fun event. I know we were starting to work some preliminary on City Hall today, getting it decorated, but that's a really fun event. It's the day after, actually the Saturday after Thanksgiving, so encourage everyone to come out. And I failed to congratulate Ms. Stauffer for retaining her council seat, and a couple people that I think as we talk about the elections, you know, Joe Disman, who again ran, and then Andy Chenkus, who for the first time ran. So I guess you say ran the write-ins was kind of an interesting path toward council seat. But anyway, I wanted to mention those guys, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Happy birthday, Gary.
Thank you. The meeting is adjourned.
Gotta hang out.